Welcome back, aviation enthusiasts. Or if you're new here, buckle up. Because today, we're diving into one of the strangest and most ambitious aircraft designs Nazi Germany ever put on paper. Imagine a World War II dive bomber with a tail that could rotate mid-flight. Sounds insane? It was, but it also almost happened. Welcome to the story of the Junkers Ju-187, a mysterious, futuristic, and ultimately doomed successor to the infamous Stuka dive bomber. It had more firepower, more speed, and a bizarre tail design that might just be one of the weirdest things ever proposed for a combat aircraft. So stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll see why the Ju-187 was both a glimpse into the future and a dead end of wartime desperation. At the outbreak of World War II, the Junkers Ju-187, better known as the Stuka, was one of Nazi Germany's most feared weapons. Its distinctive siren, nicknamed the Jericho trumpet, was designed to terrify enemy troops as it dove vertically to deliver its payload. But while the Stuka excelled in early blitzkrieg campaigns, Poland, France, and the Low Countries, it soon showed its weaknesses. During the Battle of Britain, the RAF quickly tore through formations of slow, low-flying Stukas. The plane's maximum speed of just 210 miles per hour at sea level made it easy prey for faster, more maneuverable British fighters like the Spitfire and Hurricane. More importantly, the Stuka's defense against enemy fighters was minimal. A single rear-facing gun operated by a second crewman was often its only protection, and even that had a fatal flaw. Rear gunners in the Stuka faced a dangerous limitation: the tail. The vertical stabilizer, the tall fin at the rear of the aircraft, blocked a significant portion of the gunner's line of fire. If an enemy approached from directly behind, the gunner could see them, but couldn't shoot without risking damage to their own aircraft. This was more than a minor design inconvenience. In combat, a few seconds of hesitation or a single obstructed shot could mean the difference between life and death. Rear gunners either held their fire or risked striking their own tail, possibly leading to catastrophic failure in flight. Clearly, a redesign was needed. Junkers engineers began work on a new dive bomber design, one that would address the Stuka's limitations while retaining its core functionality. The project was dubbed the Ju-187. It would inherit some of the Stuka's most recognizable features, including its inverted gull wings, which allowed for better ground clearance for bombs and stronger landing gear mounting, but nearly everything else would be redesigned. The Ju-187 was envisioned as faster, stronger, and deadlier than its predecessor. Instead of fixed landing gear, it would feature fully retractable gear for reduced drag and improved speed. Instead of the older Jumo 211 engine, it would use the more powerful Jumo 213, delivering nearly 1,800 horsepower and pushing top speed to around 250 miles per hour, a significant improvement over the Ju-87B. Armor would be increased, bomb capacity would be expanded, and, most importantly, its defensive layout would be completely reimagined. To solve the issue of the obstructed rear gunner view, Junkers introduced one of the most unconventional design features of the entire war: a vertically rotating tailfin. Yes, the vertical stabilizer, the part of the aircraft critical for maintaining yaw control, would rotate downward mid-flight, allowing the rear gunner an unobstructed view and field of fire behind the aircraft. On paper, it seemed clever. By pivoting the tailfin downwards on a hinge, somewhat like a trap door, the gunner could aim freely at pursuing fighters without shooting through the plane's own tail. but the concept was riddled with engineering challenges. Could the rudder still function while the fin was rotated? Would flight stability be affected mid-maneuver? How would the aircraft behave with one of its primary control surfaces in motion? These were all serious, unanswered questions. Moreover, the tail couldn't be rotated on the ground. The tail wheel, located at the rear of the fuselage, sat too low. The mechanism would only function once airborne, and even then, we don't know whether it would be operated mechanically, hydraulically, or manually. The WWII, if the tail was the most bizarre feature of the WWII, its armament was arguably the most impressive. The aircraft would have carried 2 forward-facing 20mm MG-151 cannons, one 13mm MG-131 machine gun in a remote-controlled rear turret, one 15mm MG-151 cannon, also rear-mounted and remote-controlled, a bomb load consisting of one 2,200-pound bomb in a semi-recessed fuselage bay, 4 550-pound bombs under the wings, and 4 55-pound bombs mounted near the tail. This was more than double the payload of the Ju-87B, and with superior guns to match. Combined with its speed and improved armor, the Ju-187 was poised, at least on paper, to be a formidable weapon. Despite all these innovations, the Ju-187 never made it beyond a wooden mock-up. The project was canceled in 1943 for 2 primary reasons. First, the rotating tail was just too complex. It would have significantly delayed production and introduced new points of failure in a combat aircraft that needed to be rugged and reliable. Second, by this point in the war, Germany no longer had the luxury of experimental designs. The Stuka itself had been upgraded into the Ju-87D and G variants, which were more capable and heavily armed. Additionally, fighters like the Focke-Wulf FW-190 had proven themselves capable of carrying out dive-bombing roles, rendering a specialized dive bomber increasingly redundant. The Ju-187 was quietly shelved, forgotten by most, remembered only by aviation historians and aircraft enthusiasts. No working prototype was ever flown. No engine ever roared beneath its wings. But the idea of a rotating tail, wild as it may be, continues to fascinate. Would it have worked? Possibly. But it likely would have introduced more problems than it solved. In wartime, simplicity and function tend to triumph over creativity, no matter how imaginative the design. In the vast and often brutal theater of aerial warfare, practicality is everything. The Junkers Ju-187 was ambitious, even brilliant in some ways. But it also serves as a reminder of how desperation and innovation can sometimes collide to create the strange, the flawed, and the unforgettable. A plane that never flew, but still makes our imaginations soar. If you enjoyed this journey into one of World War II's strangest aviation projects, be sure to like, subscribe, and let us know in the comments. What do you think? Was the Ju-187 a stroke of genius,